Hello, this is Mr. Huber. In this video, I'm going to go through an answer key for the timed Schoology quiz on the trig identities and 6 trig functions. Again, a reminder, these might not be in the same order you saw them on your quiz, but these are the same questions, just order can be switched up as it's randomized. So the first one I'm going to do here is says find the exact value of secant 240. All right, so secant, we need to remember, is the reciprocal of cosine. Okay, it's the reciprocal of cosine, so it's r over x. All right, so we need to find an r value and an x value. So we need to know that this is a reference angle of 60 degrees. Okay, so for the reference angle of 60 degrees, I can draw this out if it's not something you have committed to memory. That's no big deal, because we have a radius of 1, right, in the unit circle. And so the short leg, which would be the x here, along the bottom of that triangle, would be the 1/2, and then the square root of 3 over 2 for the y. R is always 1, so r over x would be 1 over x is 1/2. That's 1 times 2 over 1, which is 2. And we're going to make sure we know if we have a positive or negative depending on what quadrant we're in. So 240 degrees, that would be in quadrant 3. It's good to remember what quadrant we're in. All right, so based on positive x and y values there in quadrant 3, x would be negative, so there should be a -2. Okay. Also, you can go with the all students take calculus, since secant is the reciprocal of cosine. It's positive where cosine's positive and negative where cosine's negative. So it should be negative in quadrant 3, same as cosine. So -2 would be the answer. All right, find the exact value of cotangent -135 degrees. All right, so cotangent of -135 degrees, that's in quadrant 3. All right, if we talk about -135 degrees, that's right out here with a reference angle of 45 degrees. So cotangent, the reciprocal of tangent, which is y over x, so cotangent is x over y. And for a 45-degree reference angle, x and y are equal. They're square root of 2 over 2. And so anytime you have a fraction where the numerator and denominator are equal, it's going to come out to 1. And this is in quadrant 3. So tangent's positive, so cotangent's going to be positive as well. X and y are both negative in quadrant 3, so a negative over a negative, we'd actually have negative over negative to give us a positive 1. The exact value of cosecant of 540 degrees. All right, so this is the reciprocal of sine. Sine is y over r, so cosecant is going to be r over y. 540 degrees is the same as go 360 and then another 180. So we're going for that point right there, which is at -1, 0. All right, the r is still 1. So we're going to have 1 over y value of 0, that's undefined. Okay, when you have a denominator of 0, it's undefined. Okay, let's go on to number 4 here. Find the value of the product of tangent 150 times cotangent 150. Tangent and cotangent are reciprocals. So anytime you multiply reciprocals, your answer is going to be 1. Doesn't matter if it was 100 degrees and 100 degrees or -28 degrees and -28 degrees, as long as they're the same degrees. Tangent and cotangent, y over x times x over y, when those are the same y and x values, then you're going to be multiplying something times its reciprocal and get 1. All right, so now we have secant, -13 over 12, and theta is in quadrant 2. All right, so let's talk about quadrant 2 here. All right, quadrant 2, we have a reference triangle. Secant, okay, is the reciprocal of cosine. Since cosine is x over r, this is r over x. So my radius is 13. The x value is 12. Get this a negative fraction. On the Schoology quiz, it was written like this, not with the slash, so the negative sign in front of the whole fraction. That means either the numerator or denominator could be negative. In this case, the r is always positive, so we have a -12, right? If we're going to quadrant 2, we have a -12, comma. You could find the y value by having 12 squared plus y squared equals 13 squared. It's going to come out to 5. And it's a positive 5 in quadrant 2 for the y value. So for tangent, which is what we're trying to find, it says find tangent. So over here, tangent is y over x. So my y value is 5 over my x value is -12. So -5/12 would be the answer for that tangent value ratio. All right, let's go to number 6 here. Number 6 says simplify the expression below to a single trig function or number. So cotangent, all right, cotangent is x over y, or in terms of its identity, writing it in terms of sine and cosine, it's cosine over sine times sine, which you could put over 1 if you'd like. Then we need those sines will cancel out. So this comes out to cosine theta. All right, cotangent times sine will always be equal to cosine of that theta value, whatever it might be. All right, simplifying this expression below, we're going to distribute cosine into the parentheses. So cosine and secant are reciprocals. So when we multiply those, we will get 1 minus cosine squared. Cosine times cosine is cosine squared. Okay, so if we're looking at this, there's a Pythagorean identity. Sine squared plus cosine squared equals 1. If I were to subtract cosine squared on both sides, right, I'd have sine squared equals 1 minus cosine squared. So 1 minus cosine squared over here is equal to sine squared theta. That would be my answer for that if I simplify it into a single trig function. Cosine times that binomial secant minus cosine will always come out to whatever sine squared is for that theta value. Okay, and now we're looking at number 8. This is find the exact value of the function below of an angle in standard position whose terminal side contains the point -8, -6. So -8, -6, we're talking about something in quadrant 3, right? So we have this point right here, -8, -6. Okay, and so if we're trying to write cosecant, all right, that's the reciprocal of sine. Sine is y over r, so this is r over y. So we know a y value, -6. We don't know the r value. So the r in this case, we can do 6 squared plus 8 squared equals r squared. So r is going to come out to 10. So in this problem, we have r is 10, y is -6. This comes out to -5/3 as our ratio. And in the last problem here, we're going to see the value of cotangent 35 degrees to 4 decimal places. So this is where we're going to use our calculator. Okay, we want to know that cotangent is the reciprocal of tangent. So this is the same as 1 over tangent 35 degrees. That's what you should put in your calculator. Okay, you go into your calculator. You don't use, there's no inverse button or something like that. You're not looking for cotangent with a little -1 or anything like that, or tangent inverse or anything. It's 1 over tangent. It's a reciprocal. Okay, so I do 1 and I would divide it by tangent 35, and that comes out to, rounded to 4 decimal places, 1.4281. 1.4281, because after that other 1 is a 4, so it would be that at 4 decimal places. Okay, so there's some work and explanation and answers for the questions and problems from the quiz. You can go back and look at any of these if you'd like to review and hear them again, and let me know if there's still any confusion or questions you might have about any of the particular problems or the material in general that was covered on this quiz.